The Home Depot is in trouble. The economy is rough right now, and they're not making quite as much money as they used to. But the past few weeks, they did something a little dirty. This is some footage from a TikToker named Side Money Tom, and he's showing that the Home Depot is lying about their Black Friday prices. They're just pasting the sale prices over the actual prices. In fact, here's another picture that someone else posted showing their Black Friday sale price is actually a lot higher than their regular sale price. It's definitely a bit sleazy if you ask me, but are we really all that surprised? While some people think that this may be illegal false advertising, this is something that retailers like the Home Depot have been pulling for years. It's a tough environment, and they have to compete with the likes of Amazon and Walmart, not to mention other competitors like Lowe's and Menards. But the Home Depot has an even bigger problem than dishonest sale pricing practices, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video today. A lot of people think of the Home Depot as a good barometer for the economy generally. When their sales are doing well and they're making money, it's an indication that the economy is doing well. Now that is true to a certain extent, but we have to make it clear that most people shopping at the Home Depot are from a particular part of the economy. They're usually homeowners, and they're usually people who are older than 30 or so. But that said, it can still be a good indication of consumer sentiment, consumer behavior, and really just how consumers are feeling in the broader economy as well. Well, in their most recent earnings report, the Home Depot revealed that they've got some issues. Their comparable sales in the US actually decreased by 1.2% from the same time last year. Now, 1.2% may not sound like a lot, but when you consider that their net sales for the third quarter were $40 billion, and 1.2% of that is $480 million, that can be pretty substantial. Added to that, their net earnings decreased by around 4% to the same time last year. So what does Home Depot have to say about that? Well, they cite what they call uncertainty in the macroeconomic environment. But before we talk about exactly what that means and how it will impact Home Depot and Home Depot shoppers in the future, we need to talk about this video's sponsor, Home Title Lock. Most homeowners view their home as their most secure asset, but cyber criminals are now targeting homeowners with a growing scam that the FBI calls house stealing. This is where thieves can actually transfer the title of your home into their name by simply filing a document with a local county, and then they can even take out loans against your property. The scariest part is that some people who have been impacted by this scam don't find out that their title has been transferred until collections or even foreclosure notices start popping up. Home Title Lock has a service called Triple Lock Protection that monitors your title and alerts you of any changes. It includes restoration services at no out-of-pocket cost to you if the worst does happen. So if this is something that you're interested in, you can get a free title history report and a 30-day trial of Triple Lock Protection by going to HometitleLock.com and using promo code DIY with Dave, or click on the link in the description. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code DIY with Dave. Now back to the Home Depot. As I mentioned before, the management of the company blames what they call uncertainty in the macroeconomic environment for the downturn of their sales. But what does that mean exactly? Well, in their earnings call from last quarter, they explained what that meant and brought up one particular area of concern. Here's what they said.
Big ticket comp transactions, or those over $1,000, were down 6.8%. compared to the third quarter of last year. We continue to see softer engagement in larger discretionary projects where customers typically use financing to fund the project, such as kitchen and bath remodels.
So large transactions have come down. These are big ticket items. It could be things like dishwashers or fridges, other appliances, but they could also be front doors or bathrooms or cabinets, or other large things like that. And this decline in large ticket purchasing is not only impacting Home Depot, but it's impacting other retailers across the country and individuals as well. There are a few very good reasons for it. First is inflation, and we're all very painfully aware of that. Inflation has hit people really hard over the past few years, and it's led to a lot of challenges. Things just cost more now than they used to. And aside from that, there are interest rates. Interest rates have been up in the past few years, and interest rates on financed consumer purchases are much higher than they've been in the past. And that's definitely causing fewer sales in those big ticket items because people tend to finance some of those. So there was a lot of concern on the call about these big ticket purchases and how it's impacting the company. And there was this one question from an analyst.
I guess a follow-up question would be around big ticket more specifically. It does seem like it took a step down this quarter, even in light of hurricanes, certain categories you mentioned like generators. How do you categorize that? I mean, you mentioned interest rates. Do you think there was some election noise? I guess ultimately we're trying to think about what needs to change in your view to really get those categories inflecting.
And here is how Home Depot responded.
The issue we continue to watch are the macroeconomic uncertainties and the higher rate environment that continues to pressure larger remodeling projects. So we look at the reversion of personal consumption from goods to services. That's largely worked its way out, and we've largely navigated our way through the pull forward of demand that we saw during the pandemic. So again, today, this higher rate environment is pressuring the larger, normally debt-financed remodeling projects, as well as existing home sales.
So he is saying here that the higher interest rate environment is causing the problems. But then he also goes on further to say this.
So we all know that the Fed's cut interest rates, 2 cycles here. But from the cut in September, mortgage rates have actually increased about 60 basis points. So, 2 rate cuts of combined 75 basis points, yet the 10-year and then therefore the mortgage rates are up about 60 basis points. That continues to impact housing turnover, which were just about 3% of homes turning over, which is a 40-year low at this point. But then the larger projects often require financing, whether it's cash-out financing or home equity lines of credit. Those are down. So our HELOCs, those track, more directly the drop in short-term rates. So those are down 75 basis points.
So basically what the CEO of Home Depot is saying here is that the market is a bit tough because of interest rates and the fact that people are not moving. That's important because when people move, they tend to buy things. They tend to buy things at the Home Depot, whether it's paint or a new welcome mat or appliances or that bathroom remodel, usually those large purchases. Then there's home remodeling. That's a huge business for Home Depot, but not as many people today are doing home remodeling as they have done in the past. One of the things that fuels home remodels are home equity loans. And again, with rates as high as they are, there are not a lot of home equity loans happening right now. And the CEO of Home Depot directly on that point said this.
But then the larger projects often require financing, whether it's cash-out financing or home equity lines of credit. Those are down. Recall back in the housing boom, I think folks were taking out as much as $120 billion a quarter. That was more recently, 60, 80 a quarter, and now we're down to 20 a quarter. So don't think it goes much lower. When people get some confidence back in, macro and political dynamic, it's a big project. And for someone to make that decision to pull the trigger on a $25,000, $50,000, $75,000 project, there's a certain amount of, confidence that goes into that. And one would hope that we're headed toward a change in overall confidence levels.
So where do they see the market heading? They're hoping for a change in consumer confidence. They're looking for consumers to be more comfortable making those large purchases. So does that mean that they're concerned that this downturn will last? Or are they confident that things are about to change? Well, here's what they said on that point.
But what we're looking for is, just one is the timing of homeowners starting those larger remodeling projects. So we remain super bullish on the outlook for home improvement. We'll have to work our way through this current macro uncertainty and the interest rates pressuring home improvement demand. But this is a market after all, and markets return to equilibrium, and remodeling will as well. We just don't think we're quite there yet.
So ultimately, what he's saying here is that they're bullish. They don't think that we're there quite yet, but he does expect things to change. He expects things to improve and things to move back to some kind of equilibrium. But here's my question. Do you see things changing? Do you see things improving? Do you think that we're going to see a better economy? Are we going to see lower interest rates and more opportunities? Or are we still in for a rough ride? Please leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. I love to read them. For me, I am still in the uncertainty camp. I do think that there's a lot of pent-up demand for projects and remodels and things like that. Also, new home buyers are sitting on the sidelines and waiting for rates to improve. So I do think that when it does come back, I think it'll come back strong. But whether it comes back now, I'm still not quite sure about. It really is a weird time. And while I do see the possibility for some improvements in interest rates and in policies with the new administration, I also see some problems with the new administration, and I see some concerning things in the world generally. And so only time will tell, and we'll see here pretty soon what's going to happen. One thing is for certain though, and that is that I will keep making these videos if you guys keep watching them. And so if you enjoyed this video, be sure to share it, leave a comment, hit that thumbs up, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.